YouTube. I wanted to talk today a little bit about a couple of things that kind of came together for me. So one is I looked up my natal moon phase, which I didn't know and was curious about. And it is a waxing gibbous, which is almost full. It's like when you have just a sliver of the moon that's dark. And it is associated with refining. And I was thinking about this card, the Seven of Pentacles, which also has a lot of energy around refining, around getting to a point where your project just has to kind of sit and you need to evaluate it or analyze it, but not necessarily do anything. The Seven of Pentacles is also a place where you consider whether to let a project go or change its direction or delegate it or something else. And I thought it was really cool that was the moon phase that I was born under, because I have a really strong interest in this kind of refining, optimizing thing. I think it is a talent that I have, and it's something that is not always recognized as important, and it's not always a skill that you're taught. You know, I think, like, we think a lot about the beginning of a project, the importance of ideas, visioning, starting out. We think about, to some extent, not everybody does, but we tend to think some about planning and getting on the right path, and maybe about completing the project, but I don't think we often think about this, what I'll call waxing gibbous phase, or Seven of Pentacles phase. Ooh, that card does not want to show. There we go. Of evaluating, in project management, it's the monitor and control phase, which is kind of a weird phase because there's not a specific moment at which you monitor and control. You're always monitoring, controlling through the project, but there is a point, like, you tend to get to some point in your project where you might be considering whether to include nice to have deliverables, or you're looking at your budget and seeing how you're doing against forecast, and you know what the project is looking like at the end, and whether you might need to take things off, or you can add things, or you might change the timeline. Like in project management, you do this a lot, so if you happen to be a project manager, you'll be familiar with it. But in life in general, like, I feel like for me, even like self-development and some of my spiritual work, that refine has been a big keyword for me. Going from good to great, getting to a point, you know, never being totally satisfied. I think I'm always doing self-development stuff, not because I'm not happy with the understanding I have of myself, but because I always know that there's more, like there's more layers, there's more to dig. Kind of like in tarot, you can learn a card, but there's always more and more and more layers of meaning underneath, and you can work with a card in cycles or in spirals. And if you think of life as a spiral, it's like you can get to a real peak, but then at the next outer layer of the spiral, you keep going and you keep going, and you hit a different peak and you hit a different dip. And so I think that constantly refining and constantly reviewing and looking back on lessons and trying to see how we can improve and how we can keep going from them can be a really cool trait. And if you're somebody who resonates with the word refine, if you're a Seven of Pentacles person, you might not feel very appreciated, because you might not be the person who always has the best idea in the room. You might not even be the person who's like always finishing projects, but you're the person who has the courage to say, should we even keep doing this? Is there a better way we could do this, even if the project is going well? And, you know, folks might not want to put in the effort to consider a different direction, or, you know, adding something onto it. It's really important to have that person. So it's sort of a, I guess, almost like a self shout out, but also just like a shout out to those of you who also resonate with this kind of energy. And I see you and I think we're awesome. So there you go. If you like this kind of content, Don't forget to like and subscribe. I love musing on different tarot cards and astrological ideas. Would love to take any suggestions you have for future videos in the comments, and let me know, what do you think about the Seven of Pentacles? What do you think about the waxing gibbous moon? What do you think about the word refine? Let me know.